Am I the a-hole for not splitting the inheritance when I was the only one who took care of our hoarder mother? I, 34 female, was the only one out of 4 siblings who stayed in contact with our mom after our dad died. After his passing, she completely fell apart and eventually became a full-on hoarder, the kind you see in documentaries. The house was in horrific condition. It reeked of ammonia. There were dead mice decomposing under piles of trash, mold on the walls, rotting food in the fridge, and literal human waste in corners of the house. One by one, my siblings distanced themselves. They said it was too much for their mental health, too overwhelming, and not how they wanted to remember her. I understood it on some level, but I couldn't bring myself to abandon her. So I stayed. I visited her every single week. I bought her groceries. I managed her medications, paid bills she was too confused to handle, scrubbed floors stained with urine and worse. I fought with her constantly about getting help, about seeing a doctor, about letting someone clean, but she was stubborn and deeply in denial. When she died last year, it was me who found her, alone, surrounded by the chaos she'd built around herself. That image still haunts me. There was no dramatic reading of the will, no lawyers involved, just a handwritten note that she had left behind, dated and signed, stating clearly that everything, the house and the little bit of savings, should go to me. Her words, because she's the only one who's been here. And I was. After her death, I had to clean out that disaster of a home. I paid thousands out of pocket for a professional hazmat team. It wasn't just messy, it was hazardous. I dealt with it all alone. The grief, the cleanup, the paperwork, the funeral arrangements. Once everything was finally cleared, the house was appraised. And to my shock, it's now worth nearly $750,000. And now, as if on cue, my siblings have suddenly resurfaced. After years of silence, they're calling and texting, claiming I manipulated her, that I cut them off, that I isolated her to influence her decision. One even had the audacity to say, "You profited off her illness." But I didn't profit, I survived. I lost years of my life to that house, to that trauma. I lost my peace of mind, my health, and almost my marriage trying to take care of a woman everyone else had already abandoned. I told them no. I told them they didn't get to forget her when she needed them and then try to claim her when she became valuable. Now they're threatening to sue me, saying they'll challenge the will even though there's no evidence of coercion or foul play. I don't feel guilty, but I do feel tired. So tired. So here I am asking, am I the a-hole if I refuse to split the inheritance 4 ways just to get them off my back? Now for the top comments. You need a lawyer to get that will validated in probate court. If it's not declared valid, the estate will be divided equally between all heirs in most jurisdictions. At the least, keep your receipts for all the work done to clean it up, as you will be reimbursed before any payouts happen. Not the a-hole. To add to this, try to find any receipts for care of your mom and her home over the last few years. Ask the lawyer at very least if the hours spent can be reimbursed somehow. If you didn't do these tasks, your family would have had to hire a caregiver or cleaners, for example. Good luck, not the a-hole. This is probably the best way to go about things. Make a log of hours, supply receipts. Without a filed will and a mentally ill mother, the estate probably will get split, but you can probably get more reimbursement for your care and attention. Vultures always appear when the hard work is done. I hate how true this is. My grandma and great-aunt, twins, had Alzheimer's, and we took care of them for years with no help from my aunt and uncle. My aunt and grandma had a decades-long beef, and the very day we were getting them together to bring them to the manor because they'd progressed past the point we could adequately care for them, guess who showed up to go through their belongings? I was getting my grandma out of bed, and she heard my aunt's voice from the living room and hissed in my ear, "Why the hell is she here?" This was a woman that couldn't remember what she ate for breakfast 10 minutes ago, but just my aunt's voice rang something so deep-seated she was lucid for a moment. My brother was going to try, but his lawyer told him he wouldn't win because Dad had it notarized and done by an attorney years before he died. Plus, he already got money. He would have to prove Dad was coerced or not, of sound mind, which would be hard with multiple witnesses, including his attorney. Dad was sly and put me on both house deeds, so it wasn't even an inheritance. It was already my property with rights of survivorship. My dad was a smart businessman and super shrewd. Miss him every day. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister she's not entitled to our grandmother's house just because she needs it more? Our grandmother passed away a few months ago and left her house to me and my sister equally. The will clearly states that the house is to be sold and the profit split 50-50. There was no ambiguity. I was very close to my grandma, especially during her final year. I visited regularly, helped with groceries, appointments, and was her primary support in her final months. My sister, on the other hand, barely visited. She'd check in once in a while, but the emotional and physical caregiving fell almost entirely on me. Now that Grandma's gone, things have gotten complicated. My sister is insisting we don't sell the house. She wants to move in and keep it in the family. She's a single mom with 2 young kids and says she needs it more than I do. She's called me selfish for wanting to follow the will, and recently she even hinted that if I push for the sale, she'll never forgive me. As if this is a personal betrayal. I've tried to be reasonable. I told her I'd be open to her buying out my half so she could keep the house, but she says she can't afford that, and that I should do the right thing by letting her have the entire property, because I'm child-free and financially stable, while she's struggling. She believes that because I don't have the same financial pressures, I should just give up my half for the sake of family. It's turning into a full-blown family drama. A few extended relatives, who weren't around even during Grandma's decline, are calling me cold-hearted and greedy. They're siding with my sister, saying she has kids to think about, and acting like I'm trying to kick her out into the street. No one seems to care that this wasn't my decision. This is what Grandma put in her will, and that I sacrificed a lot of time and energy in those final months while my sister was nowhere to be found. I don't want to fight. I don't want to fracture my family over this, but I also don't think it's fair that I'm being pressured to give up half of what was legally and intentionally left to me. Grandma wanted the house sold and the value split evenly. I'm simply trying to honor that. Am I the a-hole for refusing to walk away from what I was legally and equally left? Not the a-hole, and tell your sister she is more than welcome to buy you out of your share for half of fair market value, or pay you rent. But you are not going to give her the house, period. Any other relative chiming in can chip in to help her pay to buy you out. Oh, they don't think they should pay? Well, neither should you. I should just let her have it, because I'm child-free and doing okay financially. It's amazing to me the number of people who think that their major life decisions should become a major problem for their other family members. Kids are hard and expensive, but that doesn't mean siblings should pay for it, or become free babysitters, usually unappreciated too. Right? My son is grown, gone, and married. My husband's 2 kids are grown and gone. The crap we get when we don't want to do something because we don't have kids at home anymore is mind-blowing to me. Yeah, well, we've done our jobs. I work for a living, as does my husband. Our free time is just that. Ours. Buzz off. Not the a-hole. Tell your relatives to buy you out if they care so much about business that isn't theirs. As for your sister, well, tell her that she needs to be an adult and not expect people to care about her and her kids because she's a single mom and to either buy you out or you sell. Her expecting you to lose out on your half regardless of how well you're doing is selfish and entitled. Your sister needs to learn how that her not being able to afford a house is nobody's problem but her own. Please do not cave, because she will never learn and continue to expect everything from you when life inconveniences her. You are well within your right, OP, and do not feel bad. Good luck. It was also an active choice that your sister made to have children. It's not fair to use it against you being child-free. Next story. Am I the a-hole for forcing my father's partner to take back a lie she told my children? I'll preface this by saying I don't have the best relationship with my father, and his partner Blair is a big part of the reason why. While I don't hate her, she is extremely obnoxious and childish. She's also horrible with boundaries. It feels like anytime someone tells her no, she hears maybe. She's been like this for as long as I've known her. but it's become harder to deal with since I had children, so I try to keep some distance. Anyway, Blair and my father are planning on going to Orlando in July. About a month ago, she asked whether me, my husband, and our kids, 7 male and 3 female, wanted to join them. I thanked her for inviting us, but said no, because we're planning on going next January and there's a pretty big chance I'll have to work in July. Also, and I didn't say this to her, we've been to Orlando with her before, and my husband has stated he'd rather eat glass than do it again. A week later, Blair told me they were getting their tickets and asked me whether I was sure we wouldn't join them. I said I was. Days after that, my sister called me. Blair had told her I was thinking about going while inviting her and her boyfriend. I once again told Blair we wouldn't go. Finally, Blair asked me if I'd be okay with her and my father taking my kids to Orlando. I said no, because we're not even in the same hemisphere as the US, and I wouldn't let my young children travel to a different country without me or my husband. Last week, my sister babysat my kids while my husband and I went out. While we were gone, Blair visited to drop off a gift she and my father had bought for my husband. She also took the opportunity to tell my children we were all going to Orlando in July. My daughter didn't care about it much at first. I think she didn't really register it. But my son got very excited right away. He kept talking about how much he wanted to go to Disney and asking about the trip. And after watching her big brother like that, my daughter jumped on the bandwagon with him. It was both heartbreaking and infuriating to watch them like that. I called Blair and said she had 2 options. Either she'd tell my kids she'd lied and they weren't going to Orlando, or I will. I added that if she told them, she'd have the opportunity to apologize and explain herself, but if I did, I would not do that for her. Blair chose to call my children herself. I kept the phone on speaker to make sure she was apologizing, explaining everything, and making it clear we wouldn't go to Orlando in July. Both my children, especially my son, were upset, but my husband and I had a talk with them and managed to cheer them up. My father texted me yesterday. He said that he didn't appreciate the way I dealt with this. Blair is still upset and thinks my kids are mad at her now. He wants me to apologize, or at least try to get my kids to forgive her, but I don't see why I should. She was the one who lied to my children, and I'm not responsible for Blair's feelings. We're still on this back and forth, and I can tell neither of us is particularly proud about this. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Well, she did lie to your kids after repeatedly being told you were not going to. Dad. 1. Did she ask me if I would go and I answered no? 2. Did she ask us if the kids could travel far away on their own to meet up with you guys and I said no? 3. Did she lie and tell the kids they were going with them to Disney in Orlando when she knew it was a lie? 4. Did she cause us and the kids undue stress because of that lie? 5. Did she overstep and cross boundaries? The answer to all of these are yes. Therefore, we do not owe her anything, especially an apology. However, you, Dad, need to say you're sorry for gaslighting us with your wife's actions and demanding an apology for negative boundary-crossing behaviors. You both will be on time out until you can act like adults and take responsibility for your actions. Have a nice day. I would seriously consider a no-contact period until Blair learns that lying has consequences. I've considered going low contact with Blair for a while, not due to lies. This was the first time she lied to my kids, but because dealing with her genuinely feels like dealing with a child. Tell your father you will not apologize to liars. Period. Tell him if he persists, you will be going low contact with both of them. Not the a-hole. Of course Blair thinks your kids are mad at her. They should be. Blair created the situation by lying to them, and now she gets to accept the consequences. You can certainly discuss with your kids what it means to forgive someone who has done something wrong. Everyone needs to give and receive forgiveness at some point. But the ideal result is for your kids to tell Blair that they forgive her for lying to them when they are ready to do so. That will reinforce Blair's responsibility for this situation. My daughter isn't mad. She's upset, but mostly about the situation, rather than anyone specifically. My son is very much upset at Blair. Last story. Am I the a-hole for asking my cousin to pay me back for a dress she borrowed and ruined at a wedding? My cousin, 27 female, and I, 25 female, are pretty close, and we've always shared clothes here and there. A few weeks ago, she asked to borrow a dress of mine for a wedding. I was a little hesitant because it was one of my favorite dresses, not designer or anything crazy expensive, but still around $180, and I had only wore it once. I asked her to be careful and she promised she would be. She returns it a few days later in a plastic bag. When I opened it, smelled like wine and had a huge stain down the front. I texted her right away and she just said, "Oh my God, I know. I'm so sorry. I meant to tell you it was such a crazy night. Lol." I asked if she could cover the dry cleaning or replace the dress if it didn't come out, and she said, "I don't really have money for that right now. Can't you just wash off the stain?" I brought it to a professional cleaner and they couldn't get the stain out. The fabric is basically ruined. I asked if she could at least split the cost of a replacement and she got annoyed. She said I was being materialistic and that I shouldn't have loaned it if I wasn't okay with something happening to it. I told her that I didn't mind sharing things, but if you ruin something someone trusted you with, it's fair to replace it. She's been cold to me since, and she also hasn't taken any real responsibility for it. Am I the a-hole for asking her to pay me back after ruining something she borrowed? Not the a-hole, and don't share clothes anymore. She 100% knew what she was doing and expected you to just not say anything about it. Don't forget to shame her in front of friends and family. Next time someone hands her something at the family dinner table, oh, be careful. You don't want her to treat that like she did my dress. Oh, you didn't hear that story? She borrowed my favorite dress and ruined it. Huge wine stain. Just left it in a plastic bag. Then she wouldn't even pay the cost of getting it cleaned. Didn't matter. It was totally ruined. Then she called me materialistic and said I shouldn't have loaned it to her if I cared if it got ruined. I honestly wouldn't trust her with that dish of scalloped potatoes. Not the a-hole. If you ruin something you borrowed, you replace it. That's basic respect, not materialism. Crazy night lol doesn't cut it when the dress is stained beyond saving. Being broke isn't a free pass to damage other people's stuff and walk away. She's not mad at you, she's mad you're holding her accountable. Replace shouldn't have loaned it out if OP wasn't okay with something happening to it. With cousin shouldn't have borrowed it if she wasn't okay replacing it if something happened to it. OP should ask for full reimbursement and never lend anything to her cousin again. People suck, not the a-hole. Definitely tell her immediately that you won't loan her anything in the future, not even a scrunchie, since you aren't okay with something happening to it. Not the a-hole. Do you have a family group chat? Then share what happened with them. Remember the picture.